Dame Joan Bakewell has confessed that her one-time nemesis, morality campaigner Mary Whitehouse, may be right after all. For decades, Mary campaigned against the desensitising effect of violence and gratuitous sex on TV. Joan, at the time, was one of many who considered Mary's attitude prudish. However, Joan now says, I never thought I'd hear myself say this, but I'm with Mary Whitehouse on this one. So do you share Joan's view now? And would you say that your moral compass has changed as you've got older?
Well, I think the problem is that's exactly it. It's because I've got older, and I'm now turning into my mother. And I think the problem is that you forget that you were young once.
Right.
Because I remember when I was young with the Mary Whitehouse thinking, I wish she'd shut up. You know, what does she know? And she's such a prude and she's so old and all of that. And I now am Mary. Because I have children, so of course there's much more for them to see now, you know, and everything does seem to revolve around sex and language, and there's 25 million channels to choose from, and there's the internet, and so you do become a bit, well, you're not watching that, or you shouldn't say this, you shouldn't do that. So I think it's just being a parent and getting
old than it used to be.
Yeah, absolutely. But I still remember sometimes when I'm going to say something to the boys, I think, oh, come on, you know, they're 17 and 21. Remember when you were. Whereas I think Ray forgets he ever was 17 or 21, because he'll go, well, I can't believe they're still in bed. You know, I can't believe they haven't tidied up. And I go, why? Did you do that at 17? And he goes, no, but that's not the point. You know, I know now how bad I was. I'm trying to make them not as bad as I was. And I'm going, no, they have to learn and grow, you know. So we always have that kind of, you know.
I think it is too easy to sort of, you know, oh, those were the good old days, and, you know, nobody was corrupt then, and, you know, there was no sex on the telly. There was. I remember bouquet of barbed wire. Do you know what I mean? You know, there was lots of sex on the telly then. And sometimes I get a bit cross with, you know, women, especially like Joan Bakewell. I've heard it all now. She's the last person you would have thought would come out and go, ooh, I think Mary Whitehouse was right. You know, people get to a certain age and suddenly they've had all their fun, and all they want to do is, like, stop everybody else having fun. You know, and, like, going around saying, oh, it's terrible, everything's got to change. It's not that bad. You know, and if you've got great parental control over your children, you know, you've got access on the internet restricted and all of that, and, you know, and you're quite strict with what they watch on TV, then there shouldn't be a problem. But, you know, it reminds me of people who give up drinking and then start preaching to everybody who wants to have a glass of wine now and again. Do you know what I mean? It's, you know,
back to the drink again, back to the drink.
Booze again.
But, you see, I never got allowed to watch Bouquet of Barbed Wire because it was after 9 o'clock and I was in bed. So I think...
You're a bit younger than me as well.
Just slightly. But I wasn't allowed to watch it, and that's where it was, I bet. Yeah, I must get it, actually, now, because you can get it all
get
now.
it on DVD.
But I think I think we should have a Mary Whitehouse back, because I think there's far too much stuff on television.
Oh, she wouldn't have a hope in hell now, though. You couldn't
well,
release
but you
it
need
now,
somebody.
To be fair,
there
is now. It's called Media Watch. I mean, Miss Whitehouse, she founded, it's called the National Viewers and Listeners Association. It's now called Media Watch. So there is still a body, if you like, that tries to make sure that there isn't sex on too early in the evening, and that you know, for example, you know, daytime TV, there's only certain words that you're allowed to use.
It's so annoying.
But then again, as a child, you know, you say, oh, we were all young once. We were all... Yes, we were. And outside the house, I was a completely different child to when I got home. Because then I knew I had to have respect for my parents, I had to be in for a certain time, and, you know, and that was how the rules of the house worked. Whereas I think there's just so many areas now.
No boundaries, really, anymore.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's two people at the end who don't have kids that are saying that. It is more difficult when you have little ones, especially, you know, Finley's 8, nearly 9, and the films that he likes, and that are marketed for his age, they all have swear words in, and we have to say there's a little bit of kissing, you know, and this sort of thing. I think
What's he watching?
Well, just normal, you know, action-y kind of films aimed at little boys. I don't mean grown-up films at all, but there's normally some kind of teenage love story involved in there at some point, and which I think is kind of wrong. You should either make them for children or for teenagers, and I think, you know, in that way, Media Watch or whoever should clamp down on, that's one way to make sure that younger kids don't come into touch with things that they're not quite ready for. Do you know what I mean? All right. Right. You could be applauding yourself after